Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended, and today we're diving into a subject that I wanted to showcase for a very long time, and that is going to be 10 creatures in desperate need of a TLC update. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off the list is going to be the Sabertooth. The Saber did previously have a TLC update many years ago, which added a few things but mainly changed its appearance, which was a great change in that respect. But as a whole, it really isn't enough to compete with rival creatures of the same size and capabilities. And what better way to showcase this than compare it to its arch rival? Canine versus feline is a perfect comparison. The direwolf is the Sabertooth's closest competitor in terms of size, speed, agility, and as a general battle mount. Both are fast and agile, both species can jump, and both allow the rider to wield their weapons when mounted. But in terms of attack capabilities and general special abilities, this is where the Sabertooth falls flat. The direwolf has strong pack buffs at its disposal, the Sabertooth has none. The direwolf is also equipped with a special ability, being able to sniff out explorer notes and hidden enemies, whereas the poor Sabertooth has zero special abilities. The direwolf also receives passive abilities, allowing the rider to roughly see how low a target's health is. The Sabertooth does however have a passive ability, and it comes in the form of taking less fall damage, which if you ask me is pretty pathetic when compared to the direwolf's passive. The only real perk the Sabertooth has that the direwolf doesn't is that it has access to a saddle, allowing it to take far more of a beating than the direwolf. The direwolf does however have better stats in terms of health and damage. Both are exceptionally good harvesters when harvesting a carcass. However, the Sabertooth is slightly better. But is this enough reason to pick the Sabertooth over the direwolf? Most likely not. I really do like the Sabertooth as a tame, but honestly in my opinion it does not compare to the direwolf, and it really does need some TLC in its life. Up next on the list is going to be the Terrorbird. It is in the same boat as the Sabertooth, with many other creatures in the same weight class outperforming it, with their abilities and pack buffs. And to be honest, the Sabertooth, in my opinion, is a far better mount than the Terrorbird, at least from a PvE perspective. The Terrorbird is probably most comparable to a raptor. It deals slightly more damage, has slightly better health, and has better speed and maneuverability. However, it does not have pack buffs or any other special attacks, and they're a bit annoying to tame. I personally do like the Terrorbird with its speed and agility, and with the ability to act like a parachute with its flappy wings. Definitely makes for a fun mount, and for this matter is actually quite an underrated tame in certain situations. However, is it enough to want to tame one? Even though it can get you great distances with its flappy wings from great heights, it still takes maximum fall damage, which personally doesn't really make much sense to me. I would definitely love to see the Terrorbird get a TLC update. The Lymantria recently made its return along with the Scorched Earth map. The map also adds many other DLC creatures, and some of these creatures received their own mini TLCs upon release, but sadly the Lymantria was not one of them. The Moth stays the same, still having no type of melee attack to defend itself, with its Poison Fart ability being the only ability it has at its disposal, and this ability is mediocre at best. It deals no damage. Any targets hit with this fart gas will progressively lose stamina over time and have their movement speed reduced by 90%, which I guess might be useful for PvP, but in PvE it's pretty much useless. The only thing I've used a Moth for is for stealing my first wyvern egg, and after that I pretty much never use it again. So basically its only use to me is being cannon fodder. I'd love to see the Moth receive the love it deserves and have much more utility in general and more reason to tame it. I normally skip taming it entirely and just go for an Argentavis or something along the lines of that. Maybe a controversial pick here. It's no secret that the Tyrannosaurus Rex is one of the most popular dinosaurs in the game, and as far as dinosaur history goes, the Tyrannosaurus was one of the most feared predators in the world, and in my opinion the Rex in ARK doesn't really live up to this status, overshadowed and overpowered by larger theropods like the Giga and Carcharodontosaurus, and with the Acrocanthosaurus being added to ARK in the future, I fear that the Rex will fall further down the food chain. Don't get me wrong, the Rex is still one of the strongest dinosaurs in the game, especially for boss fights, so I think it's time to give the Rex the love it deserves and give it a TLC update, and give the players more incentive to use it as a killing machine general battle mount rather than just a boss fighting dinosaur. The Rex version from the Paleo ARK mod from Up From The Depths is a great role model for this, and this mod gives the Rex a massive TLC, being far more agile, adding 2 additional attacks including a stomp attack, directional swipe head bash attack, and and also a roar that can be used when sprinting. And if we compare them side by side, you can see the paleo version on the right, in terms of appearance, is far more defined and detailed. But what I will say is I also do like the bulky size of the vanilla version of the Rex, and also the bite of the vanilla Rex feels more powerful and seems to have better knockback. But you kind of get the idea where I'm going with this. I'd really love to see the Rex receive a TLC update. Up next, we have the Archaeopteryx, which is a creature well known for its unique ability to act as a parachute when carried around by the player, which on paper sounds like a great ability, but I believe it's poorly executed. When carrying the Ark on your shoulder, if you can call it that, although it looks hilarious, you literally can't do anything but glide with it. You can't equip any weapons, you can't defend yourself, you can't do anything. You'll have to throw it on the ground to be able to defend yourself, which is less than ideal. Not to mention, further down the line, the Sonoma Crops is going to enter the game, which makes the Archaeopteryx completely pointless. You're never going to tame one over the Sinnoh. It does also have a passive ability. When set to wander around redwood trees or Joshua trees on scorched earth, it will gather sap passively. But honestly, I have never used this ability in my life, and when I did decide to test it out, it didn't work, and they just end up dying anyway. So I kind of think it's a little pointless. No one's going to ever pick the Archaeopteryx over the tree sap tap to gather sap passively. And once again, I feel like the Archaeopteryx could offer so much more. For example, a TLC I'd love to see is to actually have an easily accessible option to either quickly enable or disable parachute mode when carried by the player. And regarding its passive generation of sap, surely it would be a better option and give the Ark more utility if they just passively generated sap over time in their inventory, which they could do from your base. If they did that, I'd probably want to tame a bunch of them and just have them in my base all the time. For the next one, I had to throw in the Carnotaurus. This is one I've desperately wanted to see a TLC from in a very long time. I know it did receive one many years ago, and honestly, I'm quite happy with the Carno's abilities. I think it's a great dino to tame, and I think they're very underrated. But man, that is one ugly looking dinosaur. And look at those silly little arms. I know they have small arms and all that, but it doesn't even look like they have any claws. They look more like fins from a shark, if anything. Please, Wildcard, please give them a makeover of some kind. They need it. Let's take a quick look at the movie Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, where we get a small glimpse of what the Carno could look like. This is what it looks like in the film, and if they look like this, I definitely want to tame more. But honestly, it's so ugly, I don't even want to tame it. I would love for it to get an appearance remodel, actually give it a raw animation, and maybe some different attack animations. It needs to be better looking in every way, shape, and form. On the subject of appearance, my next pick can also be a controversial one. It's going to be the Giga. In my opinion, the appearance definitely needs a lot of work. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I'm just not really a fan of the look of it. And once again, we're going to take a look at the Evo Giga from the Paleo mod from Up From the Depths. And I would say this is almost a perfect representation of what I'd like the Giga to look like. I feel like the vanilla version's head is way too big for its body. But then again, the body is also pretty bulky, whereas the Paleo version is a little bit slimmer and includes a lot more detail, and it looks so much better as a whole. The Paleo version also has more detailed animations and attacks. This includes a rework of the roar, which honestly looks super cool, and once again can be used on the move. It also does have a directional head bash and tail swipe attack. It can also go into a crouch walk stance, which is definitely something I'd like to see from more carnivores in the game. And finally, when enraged, it can perform this awesome stomp attack. I'm honestly unsure if the Paleo version is stronger than the vanilla version, and I'd like to clarify, I don't want to see the Giga buffed, but I would like to see its appearance change and maybe add some of these cool looking attacks. Of course, we don't want them to do more damage than the base bite attack, because that's already strong enough, but the Giga definitely needs some TLC in my opinion. Next up, we have the Mosasaurus, the first and only aquatic creature on the list. I feel like it's not as feared as it should be. Ever since the Tuso was added to the game, I feel like the Mosasaur lost its status of being the most feared aquatic creature in the ocean. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very strong creature, but even the Mosasaur can be grappled by the Tuso, which is a little disappointing if you ask me. I do like the appearance of the Mosasaur, but I do feel like there's still a massive amount of detail that can be added. I'd definitely like to see it have a more detailed face, but I would like to see more variety of different attacks. The Tuso has its grapple, why can't the Mosa have an alternate bite attack, where it can pick up creatures in its mouth and go to town? I don't really like how the Tuso can easily pick up the Mosa, which completely immobilizes it, allowing the Tuso to pretty much have its way with it. Not to mention that the Tuso will also heal large chunks of its health when attacking anything in its grapple, and the Mosa doesn't have any cool special attacks like this. It would also be nice to maybe give it some sort of passive ability. I'd like to see the Mosa rise to the top and become the king of the ocean once again, which is why I would love to see it get a TLC update. Up next, I decided to go with the Vulture. The Vulture is a much loved shoulder pet, and it is a very strong one at that. Being able to deal high damage from the safety and comfort of your shoulder. Having this extra damage output when out exploring can turn the tides of any losing battle in your favor in an instant. The Vulture is an absolute beast of a shoulder pet, but I would also love to see it get some TLC. I do think an appearance rework wouldn't go amiss, and the Vulture really does have the potential to be one of the best shoulder pets in the game. But what really hinders it as a shoulder pet is that you can only put spoiled meat in its inventory. You can't use it to store anything else. I like hoarding lots of items and loot, so this is a change I would really like to see with the Vulture. The final creature that makes the list is going to be the Sarco. The Sarco is also another creature that had a massive TLC update many years ago, and it was a really good TLC, but I do really fear for the Sarco after the announcement of the Dinosuchus officially coming to the game. I don't believe for 1 second that anyone's going to want to tame the Sarco over the Dinosuchus. It is superior in every way. It's far larger, better looking, and a much stronger battle mount. I believe the Sarco is going to need a rework in terms of appearance, and maybe some of its abilities, as its abilities are pretty similar to the Dinosuchus, but the Dinosuchus just does everything better and has better stats in general. There's pretty much nothing the Sarco can do that the Dinosuchus can't do. And that is going to be the end of the video. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing for more ARK content. And please do let me know in the comments of what creature TLCs you'd like to see. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care, goodbye.